Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're all doing fantastic and that you're all having a wonderful day. Don't forget to follow me on TikTok. There's a link in the description below for you to click on. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. This, I will tell you, this is probably a topic that's near and dear to my heart. If you've been paying, any attention to this channel over the course of the last couple of years, I'm not a wizard, I'm not a genius, I'm not a psychic. It's just something that is happening and is going to continue to accelerate. So let me try and put things into perspective for you. The world that now, please, hear my words and heed my warning. I am a gigantic, massive advocate of people saving money, of people investing, and of people, and I would dare even say buying crypto in that same exact sentence. We are currently, you don't understand. We are currently witnessing the wealth transfer. And when I said, if you've been listening to this channel or my other channel, Money Rules, in the last year, you've heard me say those words a lot. When I repeat things, it's not because I like hearing myself talk. It's because it's like an actual, real, crazy, insane thing that's happening right now. I remember in the beginning of this year, what was very frustrating is constantly mentioning that there wasn't a lot of Bitcoin left. There's not a lot of Bitcoin. The amount of Bitcoin continues to dwindle. Rich people are buying all the Bitcoin. The amount of Bitcoin on crypto exchanges continues to disappear. Whales are buying Bitcoin over and over. And I see the comment section every now and again. I see people on Twitter. I don't know if you're trolls. I don't know exactly what it is. But people making fun of me. This doesn't make any sense. Of course, there's going to be tons of Bitcoin. There's tons of, there's not zero Bitcoin on exchanges. And all those comments dried up quickly the moment prices started pumping because of the ETFs. By the time we got to 40, 50,000, those comments disappeared because people then began to realize, something might actually be up. Something might be going on with what this guy was saying. We go to 70,000, it's, people are panicking, trying to buy as much as they can, trying to get into the market. But then once again, the skepticism rolls back on in once prices stagnate and or go sideways. Now, I'll tell you this in a very nice way, and this is something that I've experienced in my own life. I cannot speak for everyone else. But it's usually the people who are the brokest who scream the loudest. They're the ones who are the most opinionated. There's the ones who refuse to do any kind of research, to look into anything, to figure out something. And that, once again, that's personal experience. It's the same exact thing that we saw before and continue to see. For those of you who don't know, every single time that prices drop, there's only one type of person who's selling. It's retail. It's everyday normal people who would benefit from getting in the market, but they choose not to do so. And this is the same for every market. It's not just crypto. It's one of the most frustrating things to me personally, simply because I am a huge advocate for people getting into assets and saving and building wealth and trying to get out of the poverty cycle. I was in it. I know a lot of people who were in it and who are in it. And it's frustrating to see it play out over and over, that you simply don't understand that the literal way to change your life is as simple as you being disciplined, putting money away, and investing in something. That's what I've said before. If you look at stuff from 1991, look at where prices were in 91 compared to 97. 97 compared to 2005. 2005 compared to 2015 compared to where they are right now. The only people who keep paying attention are the people who already have the money. That's the weirdest part of all of it. You would assume, maybe logically or illogically, that the people who kind of have everything, wouldn't really need much more. But when you realize that the way to become wealthy and keep wealth in the family and to grow generational wealth and to never have to work again and to retire early is as simple as buying assets, it's something that you have to I think be taught. And I mean from multiple different angles, either being taught by an elder or having an actual life lesson where you keep falling on your face and you realize that something actually has to be done about it. I've helped, at least I'd like to think, a lot of my friends get into investing. I pushed a lot of my friends who, at some way or another, came into money or got really lucky with what they were doing in their job, and I forced them to buy real estate, and they've made money from it. I forced them to buy assets and to get into some kind of market, and it's worked out for them. So that's why I said this news in particular is really near and dear to my heart, because I personally, how do I say this in a nice way? I do what I can to try to help everyone. And I mean, as I don't know everything and I know finance a little bit, I try to steer people in the right direction. When I say that there are going to be a lot of people on this planet in the future who don't have anything, I mean it. While it may seem that assets are infinite and or not finite, i.e., there's houses everywhere, there's land everywhere, these things are also finite. And if you keep up with any kind of trend or any kind of news, most places, if not all of them, usually have a quota for how many homes that they're planning on building. So most places will have we want to build a country, 400,000 new homes in a year, random number. If you look at the actual numbers, by the end of the year, they usually build maybe 75,000, maybe 45,000. They never actually hit the quota. When you talk about corporate landlords, this is also a very big thing. I'm not trying to scare you so much as to shake some sense into you so that you really understand. The people who have everything, they want more and they're going to get it. My investor friends, remember when people ask me a lot of times on Twitter or even here, what are you buying? When are you buying? How do you buy? All these kinds of things. And I tell you, I buy all the time. There's no specific time that I do it. It's simply I'm always consistently buying all the assets that I buy to just continue accumulating. It has nothing to do with time for me. I will do the same thing that I'm doing now in 5 years and 10 years. A lot of my investor friends, they've kind of they already had the bug, if you will, but they've caught it even more. And there's been a frenzy in the amount of buying of assets. We've got, how many times have we spoken about this over this year? We've had some articles talking about it, but I assume the everyday person doesn't really take this to heart. And once again, I'm not telling you to dump everything you have into an asset or something like that, but I really need you to understand the way that the world is shifting. And this is why I personally think that the cryptocurrency market is very important. Namely because not only is it a brand new asset class, but when bull runs and bull markets happen, a lot of money is made. I wasn't saying it for fun in the other videos. A lot of you will be worth several $100,000 for your efforts in the coins that you bought. There are a lot of you who've been in this market for a while. You will make millions during this bull run. It's not it's happened before. It's not something random per se, but it's just the way that the actual market is. You are rewarded for actually being in it and buying, what have you. But what this transforms into could be the actual creation of wealth for you, generational wealth. That term gets thrown around so much, and it's because I think, I don't know. It's almost kind of like a thing that you just kind of say, but you really don't understand what it means. When I was chatting with my friend a couple of days ago, one of my like friends who like got into finance, and I've been pushing him, and he's doing like exceptionally well now. He's really into crypto, real estate, and stocks. We were discussing, if you haven't seen that documentary called The 1%, we were talking about The 1% again. It came out maybe 12, 13 years ago. You can find it on YouTube. It's quite interesting. It's still incredibly relevant. And he was going over a part with like family offices, and he was like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy to think of like, that there are people who are that rich, who have several $100 million, and they'll never have to work again. And without telling too much of his business, I looked at him and I was like, because you've been investing the last like 5 years, like you're now also worth like several $1,000,000. Like you also never have to work again. And if you continue on that same exact track, you will be worth 20, 30, 40 million at some point. And he like kind of looked, because it wasn't like a thing in his mind that he thought was possible. It was simply like, other people have it, but I don't, or I won't, or I can't, or I don't know if you're understanding what I'm really saying. Right, back on track with this thing. We are going to live in a very different world, and I will tell you this one last time. If you think that you're going to be unaffected by what happens, you are completely wrong. If you don't think that you need to pay attention, I can only do so much. I tried to make a video. I do make a video on both channels every single day to really let you understand or try to know what's currently taking place. There's an accounting firm, one of the big four. They're called Deloitte. Deloitte says that the net worth of mega rich families is expected to explode by trillions of dollars in the coming years. Without spoiling it, I mean, the documentary is 12, 13 years old. One of the points of the documentary was the guy who's filming it. He was with his family, and they were with their wealth manager. And he was telling them over a decade ago that they're richer than they've ever been. And their wealth is only going to continue to rise more and more and more. What most people, I think maybe it's just a misconception, and it's also understandable. If you don't have, millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, you wouldn't really know what to do with it. That's why I told you years ago, this like 2012, 2013, I sat down and I read books and I read things online, and I found free resources to figure out how things are. Like one of it's not even a joke. I literally Googled, how do the rich get richer? Because I was so perplexed. I would see all these things. I don't know if it happens to anyone else. I had a lot of friends, family members, cousins of cousins of cousins, those kinds of things, posting all the time on Facebook, all the time. These beautiful homes, these like mega mansions in like Texas that have like 27 bedrooms, and they would all be, oh my gosh, I hope I get this one day. I hope. And I was like, hope you get it as well. And then I realized once I figured out finance, I was like, you're not ever going to get it. You're not saving. You're not investing. You don't even want to understand the beginning points of what it means to actually get that kind of money. The people who have the money already are buying so many assets. That's what I was talking about, where like you think things are infinite. You think that things will kind of continue appearing and that you'll always have a chance to get it. Like there simply won't be all the mega assets are actually disappearing from this planet. The land that we have, they're not making anymore. That's a famous quote. All the land that's there is there. And people have been buying up huge amounts of it. I told you before, there have been news stories of that one guy who bought his kid a whole bunch of land, but it's happening everywhere. You can buy huge amounts of land for not a lot of money, and people are planning on keeping that in their family or renting it out to farmers. There's so many different ways. And what you're not getting is these families who already have all the money, they're buying in bulk. I don't know if you heard me before when I said it, Google around and Google the families who own portions of certain cities. If you get a chance, I'm sure you can find documentaries and or articles on it. Find out the very wealthy families who own large portions of Washington, D.C., of London, of Paris, of Rome, of New York. These people will and are going to be like the wealthiest people on the planet. And that's why I'm like, if you have the chance to get into this market earlier than billions of other people, you know, sit down with yourself and have a discussion as to if you should actually do it. Because the wealth divide is already crazy, and it's only going to get worse. Have you seen any, if you get a chance, start watching these documentaries about not only people who like can't retire and will never retire. The last 3 years have thrown, I mean, not even a wrench, like 15 wrenches at the exact same time into the machine, where a lot of people realized, A, they can't retire. B, they don't have enough savings to retire. And I'm not talking about like people in their 20s. I mean like 50s and 60s. They will have to work forever. There are a lot of people who were in their 50s and 60s who like got let go from their job like over the course of the last 3 years as all the markets were kind of crunching and all these layoffs were happening. And these people now, they have nowhere to go. This is expected to triple every couple of years. The amount of people who literally don't have a roof over their head. The situation is actually dire. I said it maybe about a month ago. We will have a proper discussion about this as the time draws there or gets closer, what have you. But I need you to start thinking already and preparing. If you are planning on taking profits or taking money out of the crypto markets when Bitcoin hits $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, start thinking already of like what you plan on acquiring after you've taken profits. I know it's like very taboo to talk about taking profits. You can be taboo by yourself in the corner. Think about what you want to acquire. Is it land that you can rent out? Is it parking spaces, which is also a big thing? Is it like those storage units? Because people, especially in America, are buying so many things. I didn't know that there are many households that have like 2 or 3 of those storage units. A lot of people are buying those up because they're very, very lucrative. Is it an apartment? Is it you have to buy something that's going to continue producing you cash as all of these assets literally dry up. There was something I saw in I'm sure you can find it as well on YouTube. It was a YouTube video talking about like trailer park homes. And I remember when I was younger, I had an uncle. He told me that I should look into them. And I mean, like, this is when like you could buy like a trailer home good years and years ago for like 15, 20,000. And I was like, just wasn't paying attention. There are people who are buying companies who are buying like entire trailer parks. Like there's so many ways that, I mean, once again, don't exploit people. But there are tons of ways that you can actually like go out there and make tons of money. And you have to keep the ball rolling because things are only going to get more crazy. In Deloitte's Private Family Office Insight series, that's the bougiest thing ever, Deloitte projects ultra-rich families who manage their wealth through private offices will grow their fortunes from $5.5 trillion today to in 5 years to $9.5 trillion US dollars in 2030. Dr. Rebecca Gooch, Deloitte's private global head of insights, says the mega wealthy are growing their fortunes at a blistering pace. She said off the back of the gains in their operating businesses and wider investments, the world's most affluent families have been accumulating wealth at a meteoric pace, and we're expecting this trend to continue. They're not going to stop. A lot of rich people, and I'll say good 90%, they want to own everything. It's a really weird, if you ever have had a conversation with people who already are rich and have a lot of assets, you hear what they're saying and it's like, really? Like they want to literally own as much as they possibly can. And then they end up passing all of this on to the next generation. And then I was discussing with a friend. She was telling me something along the lines of like she couldn't conceptualize. You know the phrase of like or like when people say like, well, like you're doing it on daddy's money, or like mommy bought you that, or like daddy, you know, so and so. Like she was telling me like, where do these people get this money from? And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, well, I had a friend and her dad like paid for her university. And then like when she like was done, like he bought her an apartment somewhere. And she's always traveling and flying on all these trips. And she was like, and I'm working a 9 to 5. And I was like, okay, how do I break this to her? And then I like told her, I was like, well, not even like multiple generations ago, it could have been like in the 70s or 80s. Like there are a lot of people who like hunkered down. Other people like made businesses and made investments, or like they simply, a lot of people in the 80s started buying like stocks. If you ever get a chance to look at like stock valuations once again, in the 70s or 80s, it's going to blow you away. Multiple companies were worth, I mean, like each stock was like 45 cents, $1.25. And I mean, like not even adjusting for inflation. Like they just had simply no value. There's a story, I'm going to get back to that, hold on. But there was a story of this guy. He was a, what do you call it? Like a car attendant, like one of the, not a valet per se, but like he used to work for this gigantic like banking company. This guy, he was like maybe in his 30s or 40s back then. And he still had the job when he was like just turning around 60, and he like made it onto the news, and they were asking him, you know, how do you like your job? And he said it was actually great. It was very lucrative. And they were like, how did you, like, what do you mean lucrative? And he was saying that every single day he would see all these bankers, all these businessmen from the 80s. And he would always tell them, give me a good tip. What should I be buying? Because he said he saw these men in these like beautiful, gorgeous cars. How are they buying all these things? All these beautiful women getting out of their cars. Where are these women coming from? So he said he started saving up any little bit of money that he had, and he was putting it into the stocks that these men were telling him. And over the course of multiple years, this guy had a son, and he taught his son to do the exact same thing. So by the time it was this, you know, he retired early. He didn't want to be a car parker his entire life. But he said by the time he had just hit 60, I think he had like a couple $1 million already like in investments because of these guys. It was just about time and putting small amounts of money away. This guy was making, I mean, like 1980s and 1990s minimum wage. It was like $3.25. But he still like made a huge amount of money. So I was telling my friend, basically all of these things, it takes time, you know. And it won't take forever per se, but you have to start somewhere. Like that person's dad or their mother or their guardian probably was putting away money. They started a business, they did something, and they put all their extra money away. And she was like, no. That doesn't make any sense. Like, where's the money coming from? And I was like, what would you do if I gave you $1 million? And she was like, well, I'd buy a home for my mother. I'd buy a home for myself. I think go on a long vacation, and then like the last part was like working or something like that. And I was like, no. And I explained to her how she should allocate that $1 million to never have to work again. And then she was like, but how do I make more? And I don't know. It's weird because I feel like everyone's just not like meant to know it or something like that, or maybe they don't want to know it, or it's kind of like remember. No, whatever. I was thinking about Vivi, and it's not really that important because I don't want the conversation to just be about Vivi, but all the people who are even like buying and stuff right now, and it's just like people continue to not pay attention or tell other people that they shouldn't be paying attention, or it's this like weird desire to like kind of be broke. I'm not saying it as a joke. Like this is kind of what it feels like. If someone tells you I can help you make money and your first idea is skepticism, or even like the other day, hello friend, I doubt he's watching, but I was telling my friend like a way to make money. Like we were talking about investing, and he said something along the lines of like, well, if it's that easy, why isn't everyone doing it? And I was like, when I hear that, it makes me cringe so hard because I've heard that dozens of times my entire life. I remember telling people years ago how to get into art, how to make money in art, like how to buy big pieces, not stuff in the millions, not even in 5 figures, like high 3 figures from these big artists, and just to hold it. And the answer that I got from everyone was like, Well, if it's that easy, why isn't everyone doing it? I remember telling people like to buy like apartments and stuff like that I saw, and I told them about it for 10,000, 15,000, 25,000. And they were like, well, why isn't it already sold? And I'm like, I think you want to be broke. Like, I think you're trying your best to make sure that you don't get ahead. Your idea is always skepticism. If everyone else is doing it, then why is it still there? Then why isn't it so-and-so? No, that's the reason why 90% of people don't have anything. That's why rich people keep getting richer. It's this like weird skepticism about everything. Like it took people so many years to get into the cryptocurrency market until like people realized that other people were actually making money and they missed out. I remember one of the places that was 25,000. Eventually, like a decade and some change later, the price of the place went up to like 200K, and they were like, "Oh man, I should have bought before." And I was like, "Yeah, of course you should have, but it's far too late now." And then when you try to tell them about like another opportunity, they don't want to hear about it. Like it's like, well, why is it still on the market? It must need a lot of work. Yeah, it needs a lot of work. And then you put the work into it, and then you put a tenant into it. You start making money, and then the value of the property goes up. It's the same exact thing with buying crypto. You don't sell because the price went down by 3%. It's a normal market move. You continue to accumulate. It's the same exact thing with stocks. You think when Apple goes down by 4%, people, okay, liquidate everything. No, it's a buying opportunity. You buy more. The value of property goes down. You buy more. You continue buying these assets because in the long run, they all go up. That was the entire thing about the Fed lowering interest rates. Everyone is excited because asset values go up whenever interest rates are cut and money gets printed. These people are buying up everything. And I know that a huge portion of you watching right now are going to be part of the group of people who are skeptical, who don't listen, who don't pay attention. Like, think about it. Mathematically, on most of my videos, I get between 15 to 20,000 views, give or take. Pendulum swing back and forth. It depends on how optimistic everyone's feeling that day. Mathematically, about 100 people, 100 from that 15 to 20,000 are never going to retire. They're going to squander everything that they get or that they had. You hear nothing about what I say about accumulating crypto or holding on to things. And once again, putting in what you can afford to lose and just simply holding on to it. Think about that. 100 people listening to this right now are never going to retire. Like, you are never going to retire. You are going to be 83 years old and you're going to remember this. Why didn't I save? Why did I put money away? Why did I buy that car? I see so many people. I was just chatting with someone else and I thought he was joking. And I was like, okay, dude, I got to go. He was talking about when he cashes out some of his money, he takes profits. The first thing that he wants to do is buy one of these sports cars. He found one that costs only 200,000. And I was like, ha 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 ha. He was like, no, like, because if I buy that first, then like it gives me the look. And then I have more confidence so I can go out to like make other business deals. And I was like, or you could buy property. He's going to buy that car. Have you seen these other videos? I'm sure, once again, third time saying it, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. These videos of people who like regret buying these sports cars. There's so many videos of them. People spending so much money trying to impress other people. And then you realize that like you can't get that money back. You can't convince someone to buy a used car, air quotes, for what you paid for it. According to Deloitte, high net worth families in North America with family offices are projected to see their fortunes rise by 258% from around $1.1 trillion in 2019 to $4 trillion in 2030. Ultra-rich families in Asia are estimated to grow their wealth about $650 billion to over $2 trillion over the same time, a 208% increase. Asia has a huge growing art market, which is also like really taking the world by storm. The typical leader in the art market was always the United States. And now I think China, Hong Kong, Singapore, I want to say Japan and South Korea are really stepping up to the plate and also buying an enormous amount. Like, It's just, please, if nothing else, if you don't listen to me in any other videos, research, find out ways to make money, find out ways to save, find out ways to invest, whatever is the most comfortable to you. And when you get that money, roll it into something else. Understand, I'm not telling you that you never have to buy your favorite car that you've wanted for the last 3 months. Because in 2.5 years, you're going to want another car because the first car that you got is going to look old and dusty to you. I'm not saying to never buy it, but the first things you need to buy are assets that will continuously make you money so that you can retire early and not have to work. It's literally not rocket science. It's the exact opposite of rocket science. Yeah, anyway. Without having to ramble anymore, I thought this was quite fascinating. I know that a lot of people are listening, and I do thank you for that. It's simply because there's no reason. If you've been in this market for a year and a half, 2 years, there's no reason by the end of this that you should come out of it with nothing. You are going to have money. You are going to make money, and you need to figure out what to put that into. Something that literally produces cash. So I'll give it to you this way. If you come out of this with $1 million, you should be buying multiple apartments, studios, I don't care what it is, to rent out to multiple people. And then with the last 80, 150, 200K, go buy yourself a car that you're only going to like for 2 years. But then when the car is old and dusty, you'll look at the apartments and go, of course, I'm still getting rent from them. And then you can take that money and go travel around the world. Yeah, a lot of people don't get what's coming. And I don't know if it's just willful ignorance, as far as I told you, we're not friends anymore. I had a lot of friends who I tried to help with finance, and they would, disrespectful. They would talk about me as if, to each other. I found out later on, he's only talking about money. He only cares about money. Life is so much more. And I'm like, you're all broke. None of you can afford your rent. I'm trying to help you. And I've been trying to help you for the last 7 to 8 years. You don't want to hear anything that I'm saying. So, yeah, bit of a different video, very different video, actually. Yeah. Keep your heads up, keep investing, keep saving, keep putting money away, look to the future, make a list of assets that you feel comfortable buying that will be cash producing. I would recommend that the first thing you do is not start a business. I think something like 70 to 80% of first time businesses fail. Buy an asset that produces cash, that makes you money. And then with the extra 50,000 on the side, 20,000, you use that to start a business. I'm trying to warn you. Yeah. So I do hope that you got something from it. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day. I hope you're all investing. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.